Chinese car makers have made meteoric strides over the past decade, and here's proof of that. This is the Zeekr 001, and it's the latest offering from Chinese brand Zeekr, which is an offshoot of Geely, which also owns Lotus and Volvo, amongst several other Chinese brands. And this is positioned as a premium performance EV. So this is the entry-level rear-wheel drive model, which has just gone on sale in the UAE, priced from 226,000 dirhams. That converts to about 62,000 US dollars. And then there's a premium all-wheel drive flagship, which bows in at 272,000 dirhams, which is about 74,000 US dollars, give or take. For the time being, Zeekr is offered only in a handful of markets. There's various European markets, such as Denmark, Norway, Germany, etc. And Australia is also next on the hit list. And this is positioned as a premium performance EV, as I sort of mentioned. So you could think of it as alternative to the Tesla Model 3, or a super cut price alternative to the Taycan. And there's more than a hint of Taycan Sport Turismo in its styling. I think it gels pretty well. It's certainly striking. It's a pretty big car. It's about 5 meters long, wheelbase of 3 meters, which means there's massive amounts of interior space, which I'll show you in a second. Now, under this car is the SEA1 platform, which is also shared by the Polestar 4 and the Lotus Eletre. So it's in pretty good company there. There's a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, and the rear-wheel drive model puts out 272 horsepower, I think 343 Newton meters. Zeekr quotes a 0 to 100 split of 7.2 seconds, but I have to say it feels definitely quicker than that. There's loads of instant oomph, so driving it in traffic, or when you need to overtake some cars or zip into a gap in traffic, there's absolutely oodles of torque there. But if that's not enough, the all-wheel drive version, which has dual electric motors, this just has a single motor on the rear axle, but the dual motor version puts out 544 horsepower, 686 Newton meters of torque. That gets from 0 to 100 in 3.8. So already this feels quick enough, but I guess there's always those who want more. So in fact, I wouldn't mind trying the all-wheel drive version myself. So overall, I've spent the past couple of days in this car. Generally a very sort of user-friendly and foolproof car to drive. As with EVs, you basically just unlock, jump in, pop it into D, and away you go. And obviously you have sort of near silent running characteristics, given that there's no combustion engine, and also a pretty low center of gravity, seeing as the battery pack sits under the car. Incidentally, there's an 8-year warranty on the battery pack, 5 years on the rest of the car. And I think for the time being, there's quite a healthy waiting list on these cars, at least in the UAE. So clearly there is demand for it. Incidentally, the Zeekr name, that's an amalgamation of Gen Z and geek. So that gives you an indication of who the target market is. But I can see even old codgers like myself potentially going for something like this. Yeah, there's loads of features inside, which I will demonstrate in a second. So let's get the thing open. So you hit the unlock button, these recessed door handles pop out, and then as we can see, the interior quite nicely kitted out, even though this is the base model, but there's a suitably premium ambience inside. So acres of room inside, so I'll just jump in here, and this seat in front of me is set where I would sit in the car, but as you can see I've got acres of leg room, okay headroom as well. There's a full length glass panoramic sunroof which is standard. So yeah, I think even if you're up to 1.90 m, no problem in the back. There's acres of space there, and pretty reasonably comfortable rear seats as well. They're sort of nicely sculpted, sort of individual sort of bucket seats in the back. So I think even long trips wouldn't be a problem in this car. So it could stand up also as a chauffeur drive limo. I think it's not much lacking there. You sort of have this faux aluminium trim with this sort of copper tone finish. Looks pretty good. Also you have various ambient light settings. So it's on red at the moment, maybe you can just about make out, but you can also have yellow and blue, I think. So yeah, a lot of thoughtful touches in this car, and as you would expect from an offering from Geely these days, there's a real sort of cohesive and quality feel inside and out for that matter, and for the most part that translates through to the driving. The view from the driver's seat basically is dominated by this small but clear information, sort of instrument cluster, which just has all the basic information. So it's nice and clear. There's also a head-up display, and then you have this huge sorry about the glare. It's a huge 15.4-inch infotainment screen, so you can toggle through sort of various functions such as driving, and then you have the energy recuperation level, standard or high. Even in high, it's not too bad. With some EVs, when you put them in high mode, as soon as you lift off, it's virtually as though you run into a brick wall. Here it's a bit more progressive. You have also various maybe my fingers are sweaty. There we go. So you have various sort of driver aids. I find the lane keeping assist a bit annoying, so it doesn't seem to like my left hand. So I usually just get rid of that straight away, and then also the front collision mitigation, which I find a little too drastic in this car. So on and so forth. You can toggle through the various functions, all fairly intuitive, I have to say. Yeah, it's a bit better than some infotainment systems that I've used in recent times. So a minimum of sort of physical buttons, you know, just the very basics. As you can see here, you have this sort of little stubby transmission lever, which looks all right. So the ambient, let's see if I can get the, so the ambient lighting, which is red, let's try blue, probably not that visible, let's try yellow. So yeah, there you go, blue and red. So that's pretty funky, pretty nice display as well. So yeah, overall pretty nice inside. I have to say there's quite a premium feel. I still haven't sat in the sort of the flagship all-wheel drive version. I'm curious to see what that's like, but even this basic entry-level model is pretty nice, I have to say. No problems with boot capacity either. I think it's 539 liters with all the seats in place. Obviously you can fold down the rear seats, and then I think it goes well past 1,000, maybe 11 or 1,200, I can't remember exactly. And then you have this sort of very large tailgate, so very easy to chuck large items in. You could probably fold down the rear seat and throw in your mountain bike, or you know, a couple of large suitcases, golf bags, whatever. So yeah, pretty good on the practicality front. not too much lacking there either. The verdict, what do I think of the Zeekr 001? Well, overall, I have to say I quite like it. It looks really sharp, certainly eye-catching, and yet it's not too derivative. Like you wouldn't look at this car and instantly mistake it for anything else. Sure, there's maybe a few hints of Taycan Sport Turismo, but overall I think it has its own identity, and pretty good to drive as well. Lots of instant torque, as you'd expect with an electric vehicle. I'm curious to try the all-wheel drive version. That should really be quite the rocket ship. It corners pretty well as well. It's sort of fairly tidy, sits quite flat. The only slight criticism I have is that there's a slightly sort of wallowy, floaty feel at times when you're going through sort of going across undulating roads. But on the whole, very tidy, as you'd expect, given that it shares its platform with the Polestar 4 and the Lotus Eletre. So overall, I have to say a very good first effort from Zeekr, and it bodes very well for the future of the brand. Thank